Oh my goodness, we are live. Well, welcome to the Brown Table. And hey, thought I'd go live. There's a lot going on, and I generally talk politics. I generally stick to really religious Christian issues um, and do some other things. But today I wanted to go live and talk about the recent events and everything that's going on politically. Um, and, I'm 53 years old. I've lived long enough to see politics and its evolution over the last 50 years. And it's been partisan. There's always been partisanism, if I can say it. But I will say Democrats and Republicans would come across the aisle as far as passing legislation, pass bills that would impact America, um, society. And there are several things I want to touch on right now. And so I will say that we've lost that ability to cross the aisle. We've lost that ability to work together. And so that's what it appears. And to the greatest extent, that seems to be true as far as the evidence and the gridlock that we see in DC, and we see it being called the swamp, all of those things. But I really want to touch on the president situation, and I'm an independent. I have no loyalty to being a Republican, no loyalty to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, uh, I, I've had a tendency to vote Democrat, but I've also voted for Republicans at a local level, at a state level. So I have no loyalty, and really we have to be careful about the information that is being fed to us. And let me start with this. Joe Biden, I know he's left the race, and Donald Trump being the two choices to select to lead our country is just absolutely crazy to me. It's just absolutely nuts. Um, I This was one election with those two being the candidates. I was going to sit out, just completely sit out, and one because Joe, because he stepped aside, he's feeble. This is not an ageism thing. This is a cognitive ability to do the job. Um, and so Joe is, and what we want in our leaders is someone who is, has life, vibrant, uh, can show strength. And basically, Joe was looking like Grandpa Joe, basically, who needed some help to get across the room and sit down and sit down and watch TV and let Joe, Grandpa Joe, experience his latter days, uh, in peace and enjoy the remaining days he has left on Earth. And then you have Trump, who is an election denier, who to this day will go to his grave saying that the election was rigged and that it was stolen. I will never vote for anyone who will undermine our democracy, our republic, and our electoral system. Uh, and he's doing it for himself. I mean, I can't talk all about Trump's motives. I'm not in his head, I'm not in his heart. But for someone to deny and not concede and accept the fact that he lost the race, um, you know, I just can't vote for him. And here's the thing that gets me about Trump. Here's what I don't understand. Now he had all of these cases. The New York case, bah, I didn't really care about that. That was paperwork he got convicted for. Yes, he's a convicted felon, but most people, from people I've spoken with, probably would not get charged for that. Probably wouldn't even go to jail for that. And so that I would have. I don't want to call it a witch hunt, but you have to say it looked like it was politically motivated. But the documents case, they got thrown out by the judge. That's going to be appealed, and that case will, if Trump is not elected, will most likely happen because he'll probably went on appeal. The DOJ will went on appeal. But for that case, Trump could have avoided all of this if he could set aside his ego and narcissism and his obsession with power and who he is if he had just given back the documents. Trump could have saved himself a whole lot of stuff if he just given back the documents, if he just conceded the election. He would have never had to face all of those things, and he would have been highly reelectable. He would have won in a landslide, in my opinion, if he had just conceded those things. But he couldn't. It's not in him to do it. So that tells you the character, his thinking, the kind of man that he is. So, but you know what, America? We have to look in the mirror here. We have to look in the mirror here because we, for them to make it to that point, and for those two gentlemen to be our choices, it's all on us. It's all on us, and they're just a reflection of who we are at this point. And all I have to say is we should be ashamed of ourselves. It's not like there weren't better choices, but we're letting the 30% of both sides dictate, select, or the powers that be in the party, who's running the party, to dictate, and to and the Republican primaries. The Republicans are voting for them, and most of America is not extreme left, not MAGA. Most of us, I'd say 65% of us are smack dab somewhere moderate. We're center left or center right. So basically, we have ourselves to blame. Either we're not participating or we don't care. All right. And then also you have to look at the population of the United States. It's roughly about 330 million people. And the last election had the most turnout with 150 million people. So really less than 50% of our population actually votes. But, we have to decrease that 330 to eligible voters. But still, our participation is not the best. And our last election was the best participation. But anyway, we're responsible. Another thing, our country is ignorant when it comes to civics, when it comes to politics. All right. We just don't understand government and how it works. Okay. We have to understand, no matter who, I will say this, whoever is elected president, we need to understand this, is that the presidency will impact policy as far as foreign policy. If Trump gets into office, obviously, and even if Kamala Harris is elected, there will be more executive orders. I will say if Trump is elected, he's going to look to dismantle many of the government administrations that exist, whether it be the FBI, the EPA, just lower bureaucracy. And many conservatives may be fans of that. But I want people to understand we're so focused on the presidential election that we miss and don't understand that your lives are most impacted by what goes on in your local governments. It's most impacted by your school boards, by your city council, even down to your neighborhood and HOA, your homeowners associations and neighborhood associations. It goes down to that level. Your lives are more impacted by policy, the disbursement of taxes, grants, funds, all of that to your communities. How your neighborhood looks, the funding it gets, the funding it receives is dictated by local policy, city policy, and then on up to states. We are the United States of America. And in essence, I see the 50 states as being 50 countries because those states have their own state house, their state senate, they have their own governor. And those are the people who are making the laws that impact your lives every day. They're the one who are taking the tax revenues and putting it back out into their states, into municipalities, into their counties. So that's where you have the most impact. That's that's where pretty much how your life looks now is determined. So I know we focus on the presidential race and it's all oh no, I'm gonna move out the country. Da, da, da. I don't care who the president is, your lives are going to be shaped for the most part, I would say 80, 90% by what's done at the local level. So, do you vote for your city council? Do you vote for your school board? Do you participate in local politics? Do you know what's going on in your neighborhood? Do you know the policy that's being set? All right. And then comes Congress. All right. So Congress, your congressional representatives, your representatives in Congress are the ones who are taking those funds, the budgets, and they're also distributing that money. All right. And seeing where it goes and funneling where it goes. And the people that make the most noise and the people who are the most organized are the ones who get those funds. That goes from local governments, local administrations, to nonprofits, to corporations, to neighborhoods, all of that. All right. So, next point I want to make, who is controlling the narrative? There is so much hyperbole and embellishment going on. There are lies being told on both sides. Both sides. That's why I consider both sides having aspects of just just evil, just non-truths, just deception. And all that is to control the narrative. Whoever controls the narrative, whoever controls communication, whoever controls the communication has the most influence, will have the most power. So be careful of the propaganda stations that you're watching, whether it be MSNBC, whether it be Fox News, whether it be CNN, whether it be Newsmax. I would encourage all of us as Americans to get our news from credible sources from different, even those places, from different places, to compare and see what they're saying. Because many times when I watch Fox News, there are some things on Fox News that I agree with. And then there are some things that are just like, what are you talking about? There are some things on MSNBC that I agree with. And then here comes the hyperbole, the embellishment, the drama attached with the communication, the exaggeration. I'm like, what worldview do you have? So I encourage you to read news and to understand, no matter how much information is out there. I hate to say this, and I have a few years in media, that it's going to be slanted because whoever is giving the news has some sort of editorial, has a world perspective, has an opinion on things, and it's very hard to keep your opinion 100% out. But the ones, I will say, try and follow people who are trying to give both sides and to give balance so that we can understand and have a really a fair view of what the information is out there. So I say all that to say is that there's very little truth, and you're going to have to dig and research the truth. All right. So that's why I'm an independent. I'm not, I will say this, as far as my political stances are concerned, if I had to compare the two parties as far as what they stand for, I do believe in freer markets, but you know what? The Republican Party is not the Republican Party it used to be. Uh, they're actually have as much spending, if not more, than the Democrats, evident by Trump's last administration. But I do believe in freer markets, but I do believe in a balance of having enough programs to help those who are poor. We have a responsibility individually and collectively as a society to help those who are less fortunate. But I will say, as far as being socially conservative, I'm more socially conservative, and I have real concerns about the progressivism and the 5 to 10% that are on the extreme left that can hijack the Democrat Party. All right, the Democrat Party, and with the transgenderism and just the sexualization of things, and just this is not all LGBTQs. And this is the one thing that LGBTQs hate, is that they don't even want to be lumped into one category. And then, okay, um, let's say the trans or some of the agenda there, they're hijacking that, and some of them aren't even down with it. So we have to be careful. And the extreme right, where MAGA, Christian nationalism. I'm not down with Christian nationalism. All right. Christianity is a beautiful religion that should be separate, that is separate from politics. Individuals can be Christians and influence policy. But as far as saying this is a Christian nation, that's not what the founding fathers wanted it to be. They wanted freedom of religion. That's why they said a separation of church and state. All right. So there should be freedoms for everyone to practice their religion. So I believe it's up to every individual to who I, as a Christian, if I was elected to office, I'm going to do Christian things and I'm going to use my Christian beliefs to influence policy, but I'm not going to put my total belief system on everyone else, because we live in a country where it's free, liberty. All right. Other point I want to make. All of this is a game. All right. So for all of those who complain about the system, all of those who complain about um, we lost the election, or you're mad, you're upset, you protest or whatever. Understand that this is a system that is set up, and the people who win are the people who play the game the best. And if you don't vote, if you don't participate in the process, and if you don't understand the process, you're you're gonna lose. So I've heard many people complain about who the president is, and this is on both sides. And sometimes they didn't even vote. So I encourage you, if you really want to, instead of complaining about the system, do something about it. But also, if you're complaining about the system, be active in the system, participate in the system, have a voice. Because from my experience in politics, it is the people who make the most noise. Those are the people who will have the most influence. And I got to give it to the Republicans. Uh, they play the game the best, because it always looks like they're playing chess and the Democrats are playing checkers. All right. And what I mean by that is that no matter who's out front, and in this case, Donald Trump, no matter how much he lies, no matter what he does, they line up. And that's a shame, because now the Republican Party is, I would call, a cult, because there's no one, there's very few people on that side except for Liz Cheney, um, Mitt Romney, who are not willing to compromise their character for the sake of the party. All right, but I will say the Republicans set themselves up to get in line, to toe the line, in order to win. Because at this point, is it really about the people? It seems like it's about power. And I'll go back to the part about bipartisanship. We've gotten to a place where no one is really working with each other, Democrat, Republican, and they're stonewalling each other with whomever's in power. I will say the Democrats do more of trying to cross the line, but the Republicans are so dead on, no, we won't work with you. We won't give in. Is that really in the best interest of the people? Is that really in the best interest of America? I would love to see where Democrats can give Republicans credit for their successes and and Republicans give credit for Democrats for their successes. Isn't that the goal? Is to do what's best for the people? That's why I'm an independent. Because at this point, it seems like it's all about a power grab. And it's become more than about policy. And it seems like it's gotten very personal, and they're willing to uh, go down with the ship at all costs instead of giving a president credit, Joe Biden credit for the policies he's had successes with. And to some extent, the Democrats they will never give Trump credit for some of the policies he was successful with. So, all right. And then finally, you have to understand we have a 50-50 electorate. I did say most of us are in the middle, but most elections are like 51 to 49%, or a landslide is like 53 to 47%. So this country's always going to be 50-50 for the most part. Um, I do want to say we have to stop demonizing the other side. The rhetoric has gotten so bad to where we are dehumanizing and demonizing the people we don't agree with. All right. To where you saw the post where some people were just like, oh my gosh, you were just a centimeter away from blowing his head off, and upset about it. We're wishing for the other side to die. We're wishing for the other side to be gone. I know there's always been conflict in politics, and it's always a power grab. And to some extent, we've had assassination attempts in the past. We've had assassinations, but in essence, uh, I'm sorry. Who's in control of your life? Is it the government? Is it the president? Or is it God? We've taken this to such an extreme level to where the left, Trump will say the left, they're destroying our country. Are they really destroying our country? Are they? There are many things I disagree with. There are things that I don't like, especially as far as policy, or just how things are characterized on television, how the how things are portrayed on the left. I don't understand the college kids. I do understand the college kids who are supporting the Palestinians, but they don't even understand that they're backing Hamas. So there's just things on the left I don't understand, but there's also things on the right I just don't understand as well. And then it comes to us, the left, pointing fingers at the right, and if they take over the country, we're gonna die. Our country's gonna go to hell, and I'm moving out the country. I'm like, really? Is it really going to impact your day to day life? Is it really going to impact your day to day life? I would argue no, it's not. But we have to come to a point to where we want to hear each other, have a conversation about the issues, understand another person's perspective, and then finally agree to disagree. There are 50 states here. We do have some ability to move into other places, to other places that are more accepting of our political beliefs, our personal beliefs, our social beliefs. All right. So we need to hear each other and come together, and at the end, if we disagree, just agree to disagree. And that's the part of living in a democracy. or living in a republic is that we're able to have dialogue, discussion, and take the demonization and the dehumanization out of it. And because in essence, we all want the same thing. In essence, we all want to be free. We want to have the freedom to make choices over our lives. We all want a good job. Most of us want property or house. A lot of us want to have families and raise our families, and we all want to be loved. The difference is how we want to do it is going to vary. But in essence, we still want those core things. So that may be what makes America great, is the freedom or the offer of freedom to do that. All right. So there's my take on the system. I will say this finally, and I led with this as the topic. I'm not sure, and I won't say I'm not sure. I don't think the Democrats are going to win. I don't think America is ready to elect a woman as a president, a multiracial woman as president, a Black woman as president. So it's great that Joe stepped down, and I wonder, did the Democrats even think about this? Okay, if Joe steps down, who's going to be put in her place? Oh, we'll have an open convention. You know how chaotic that is? And then you have all of these delegates. But I will say the Democrats are showing unity. They're towing the line like the Republicans do. So that may be a good thing. But is America really ready for that? I encourage all of you to travel the country and to go to the Midwest, to travel to the South. Go to the different places that go to talk to people who don't represent your worldview, to get a better understanding of what they're thinking, how they think, what their political views are. And even though I actually think Kamala will win the popular vote, but she won't win the electoral vote because she's going to have a hard time winning Arizona. She's going to probably have a hard time winning Nevada. She's definitely not going to win Ohio. She may not win Wisconsin. She may win. She's not going to win North Carolina. And unless there's a huge turnout in Georgia, I'm not sure if she'll win Georgia. But we have to understand the history of this country. And this country has a racist history, and it still has racist undertones that are still there. Um, and and you have to understand that also Kamala, we actually also vote on who we like. And the reason why Hillary lost, a whole lot of people didn't like her in those red states or those purple states. All right. And just a woman being in position of power, especially this being mostly a nation of people who have Christian beliefs, will not want a woman as the head of their country. And with all the racial stuff and the backlash that we got post Obama, will America elect a woman that is of color, that's Black, that's African American, but also Asian American as well? So the Democrats have some work to do. You know, I and I encourage all of you to look at policy, to look at that. Let's try, and that's the power of Trump. As much as he lies, and as many of the deplorable things he has done, I will admit this: that dude has a charisma and a swag. And if you pay attention to what he says, he speaks in very simple language, and he's so relatable. Even though he may not really give a crap about the American worker or whatever, the regular people, his life hasn't reflected that. His life and his actions, his behaviors has reflected it's about himself. But that man has some charisma. He is and I used to be a Donald Trump fan. I loved him when he went on the Howard Stern show. um, dude has some swag. I would watch watch his TV show. Uh, dude, it's and then when he was running for president, I'm like, wow. And he was a Democrat, but he's opportunistic, and he's the PT Barnum of today, meaning all publicity is good publicity, and he knows how to control the narrative. Like I said before, with his posts on Truth Social, when he was on Twitter or X, as now known, he knew how to control the narrative. So, once again, whoever controls the message has the most influence and will have the most power. All right. So Kamala Harris has her hands full. So Democrats, for those of you who are Democrats, all right, wish you the best of luck, because it's not. Actually, I think it's done. So we'll see what happens. All right. Thanks for tuning in to this political edition of the Brown Table. All right. Please subscribe. Please share. And let me know what you think. Please share your thoughts. Please put your comments below. And hopefully I won't have to do too many other political shows. All right, everyone. Have a great night.